everyone, and welcome to this Videos on Frontier video. My name is Jay Wakefield, and today I'd like to explain to you why today's video is late. Now, the reason that this video is late is because this week has been the week of the conference for the Scottish National Party, the SNP, and as a result, I've actually been quite busy. I went to the conference on Thursday, didn't go yesterday because I found it quite stressful with the vast crowds and what have you, but I was there today for the final day of the conference, and you know, for a few of the motions that I wanted to hear, and you know, all that good stuff. So, SNP Conference then. It was held this year in Aberdeen, which was quite fortunate because it meant I was actually able to go. And I was actually able to... Well, yeah, I was just able to go. You know, didn't have to actually go anywhere else and book a hotel and what have you. So that was good. However, so I arrived on Thursday. Okay, it was kind of a wee bit after registration. Well, not the registration, the opening of conference. So I missed Nicola Sturgeon's speech on Wednesday, but I was there for a lot of the resolutions. We had things like taking out the ISDS clause. I forget what ISDS stands for in TTIP, but long story short, it is the nasty clause of the Transatlantic Trades and Investor Partnership deal that will allow companies to sue governments if their laws affect the company's bottom lines. That's a very dangerous piece of legislation, and you know, if it goes through, you know, we can say goodbye to things like clean water, clean air, free or even cheap healthcare, or even free education. We can say goodbye to a lot of safety standards, a lot of anti-discrimination laws, and you know, basically it will just be a total mess. Large corporations will be allowed to go unchecked, and considering the damage that some of them do to the planet, you know, and the conditions that some companies have people working in, I feel that is very dangerous and has no place in a civilized world that we're always told that we live in, and certainly not, you know, well, anywhere, just really. And the same goes for the Trans-Pacific Partnership. That too is a very dangerous piece of legislation. You know, and it's big companies and the USA that have really kind of brought this, you know, into being. And personally, I think I hope it fails. We have also continued to about the moratorium on fracking and unconventional gas, whatever it is. Because I mean, we would like to. Sorry, I'm a wee bit tired, and I'm going to be honest. I'm a wee bit tired. Got a bit of a head cold going on. You might be able to hear that. I mean, I'm obviously now just kind of searching my drawers frantically for some handy andies, and I'm not finding any. But I mean, I'll try and go on regardless. So, we've... so we did all that with TTIP. There was also a motion on food and food banks. We've had motions on we've had motions on power. And, as far as I know, everything passed. I mean, everything that I was at passed. And that includes a topical resolution, which was, we wanted to register our support against military intervention in Syria because, that is what a war-torn country needs. More bombs. Not. We actually got to hear testimony from a Syrian refugee, a doctor, who is now working with Syrian refugees. He was talking about, how Assad were using bombs against they were using bombs against people, their own people. And, families, they weren't safe. There was a lot of torturing, stuff like that going on there, and some, quite a lot of really bad things were happening. So, a lot of people literally were forced to flee their homes and even their country. Now, Turkey has taken in a lot of refugees. In fact, the Turkish Prime Minister, the Turkish leader, I do believe, said that these people aren't refugees, they are guests in Turkey. And compare that, if you will, to the Tory response. We had Theresa May last week giving a speech on how immigrants are breaking... immigrants, not refugees. She doesn't, say refugees at all. Immigrants, in which she actually, she's using the term immigrants to include the Syrian refugees. And, she's saying that immigrants of any kind are, stopping the British society from being cohesive. And that, I would say, is not true either. David Cameron described the refugee crisis as a swarm. And, there's been ministers saying that they are a threat to Europe. And it's not. I mean, a lot of people, have, that Turkey can't take everyone in. So, I know I'm not going to be liked for this, but I do believe that Britain does need to take their fair share of refugees. Yes, refugees. These people are not migrants. These people, Britain needs to take its fair share in, and, we need to, stop this racist, xenophobic nonsense. Because at the end of the day, Britain and the US played quite a huge part in tearing Syria apart. Destabilising the Middle East in general. What with the war on terror and what I probably should say is war of terror. The war on terror. Iraq has weapons of mass destruction. Aye, so the day, your bum's out the windy. There was a dossier. Dr. David Kelly actually had a dossier saying that there was no weapons of mass destruction in Iraq. He turned up dead. I'm not going to comment any more on that. I'm just going to say, yeah, and I'll just leave it at that. But we did vote unanimously in favour of the SNP's decision to campaign against any military intervention in Syria. We heard about how Orkney, which is basically a big power station, is having to pay a 2p surcharge on electricity because apparently they're too far away from the centre. Newsflash, Orkney is the centre for electricity generation. You know, at least for itself. Why? Basically, the big electricity companies in Westminster are allowing Orkney to be charged for their own energy that they are creating. And Scotland has come so far with renewables, only to see Westminster cut our funding for renewables. You know, we've powered so much. You know, I mean, it's... could power 104% of our electricity was generated by wind power. Just... Why are we not getting this funding? Why are people like Donald Trump allowed to go to the Supreme Court down in London and start flapping his gums, and this is my opinion, start flapping his gums about not wanting wind farms because apparently they're going to ruin the countryside? Let me, what would you guys prefer? Would you guys, you know, let's say you lived in a really idyllic part of Scotland, somewhere like the Highlands or something, you know, you can picture how beautiful it is. Jagged mountains, sprawling lochs, beautiful fresh air, beautiful skies, rugged countryside. What do you think would ruin the landscape more? A bunch of wind turbines, or a bloody great power station belching out smoke? Because I know which one I'd prefer, and I know which one I think would actually look more at home in the countryside. And I like the tidal power, the tidal hydroelectrics. That is a very good idea as well. There was motions against the workfare sanctions. You know, we actually passed that motion, although I wasn't there for that one. Bit disappointed, but well, overslept. I guess, you know, it was just way too stressful the first day, you know, with all the crowds and everything. So, but I did make a concerted effort to come in this morning. We were discussing the power. We were also discussing food banks as well this morning, and you know, about how Scotland can better make use of its way of making food. I mean, because we do make a lot of our own produce here. In fact, you know, I mean, I go shopping at Aldi every Wednesday, and there's a lot of things that have Scottish signs on them. Saltires on them, made in Scotland, produced in Scotland, grown in Scotland, grass-fed in Scotland, that sort of thing. You know, bought a Simple Mind CD, synthesised in Scotland. Anyway, but I would hope that that would be the only thing that is synthesised in Scotland. Well, actually, probably all sorts of good chemicals that we actually tend to synthesise. So, yeah. There was also a good few fringe meetings, which were basically sessions out with, the auditorium where we'd all kind of just sit and listen to the various MPs, MSPs, councillors, what have you, make their speeches and put forward their their resolutions. So yesterday, I went to one about, oh my goodness, my memory is just, not yesterday, Thursday. My memory's just drawn a blank. Inclusion Scotland. That was it. Getting people involved in the political process. Getting people with disabilities involved in the political process. And there was a lot of good discussion there. I had the great pleasure of meeting Councillor Sheila Hands, who's in Angus, and she brought up quite a few good points there. I brought up a few of my own. Then in the evening I actually went to a couple of different fringes. I went to one about energy, and I was talking about how the big six, they like to charge people a lot more for prepay meters than people who are on kind of post-pay bills. And I think that that's completely wrong as well. You see, because it's the poorest people in society that generally have to use the prepay meters. And I've heard that the electricity companies, they don't like being shifted in switching these prepay meters out. And that does, and that's my Twitter, and that really does kind of leave us at risk, people who are visually impaired. Because, my electricity could just kind of go off like that. And then I'm in the dark. Might not be able to get any more. Or might a bit, worse still, okay, I get an emergency reserve tank that, you put your key in one. At least my meter beeps. But I have seen probably some of the older ones, you just kind of sat there, minding your own business, like I am now, and then suddenly, kerclunk, you're in darkness. But at least mine actually screams at me, through the use of beeps. Sometimes I get woken up by it's like. So that is useful. At which point I can actually put my key back in and access the £10 reserve tank. But obviously that has to be paid back. And what would happen if I ran out of that and wasn't able to get to a shop? Which is quite probable. They keep going on about how much of a cold winter we're going to have this year. So I might actually be stuck in the house. Hopefully I won't be. But certainly I could be. But then again, they say that we're going to have the coldest winter yet every year. And it's not even funny anymore. So yeah, apparently, what happens then? Even if I have the money. Well, some of the electricity companies are bringing out smart meters, and you can actually top up by text message. Absolutely brilliant. But again, that doesn't solve the problem of the blooming cost of the things. Why are we punishing the poorest in society by making them pay more for electricity than, people who are on bills? It makes no sense to me at all. So I did kind of speak about that. Then I went to an RNIB meeting where we discussed the cost of, being visually impaired. And, things like people who are blind who are in work, partially sighted who are in work, that sort of thing. And it just kind of brought home to me just how offensive Ian Duncan Smith's comment at his conference was when he turned round and said it is not the government's job to lift people with disabilities out of poverty. I'm sorry, but disability is expensive. And I've, had dealings with social workers, that have, basically said, oh, well, if I needed something, to do with my disability, it'd be like, only if you can afford it. With disability, it's not as simple as living within your means. When you've got disabilities, you have to find the means, you have to have the means to the way you live, not living within your means. Because we can't make those costs go away. I mean, specialist equipment, adapted equipment is blimmin' expensive because it's a niche market. They can charge basically what they want. I mean, I remember getting an RNIB catalogue through the mail when I was in England. And they were charging like £300 odd for a microwave just because it could talk. Meanwhile, anyone else needing a microwave can go and get a cheapy one for about £30 odd at, they could go get a cheapy one for about £30 odd in Asda. Where's the justice in that? You got to pay 10 times more just to get a microwave. I seem to have went all UXWVL. Microwave in the microphone in the microwave. Oh, jangs, microwaves. Yeah, right enough. Put a microphone in the microwave. Don't do that. Don't do that. You'll regret it. Unless you're UXWVL, in which case you probably have, and the same would go for Weasel 2 HTM as well. But anyway, this isn't this isn't a luxury. It's a necessity for people who have the need of these adapted items or adaptations to their home. And going back to electricity, I know I need more lighting. I don't use specialist camera lights in my videos. So, it's not like I'm going, I need extra lighting. And then just kind of using it for videos. I mean, this here is my, I have a daylight lamp which has a kind of a bluish hue to it. And it's it kind of helps me, or it's supposed to, because it's meant to simulate daylight. It is quite a bright bulb, a very bright bulb, especially compared to something like the incandescents. It is 30 watt, which is actually a lot more, about 20 watts more than a standard energy saver, but it is half the wattage of a standard incandescent bulb, which is usually about 60. I mean, yeah, you can get 40 watt bulbs, but the hell am I going to do with that? Anyway, yeah. So that was a very good session, again hosted by Sheila Hand and Shona Robinson MP. Sorry, I couldn't remember whether she was an MP or an MSP. Whoopsie. And that kind of brings me on to another thing. The MSPs that I met, the MPs that I met, Stuart Hosey, he is a laugh and a half. Tommy Shepherd, again, a laugh. Callum McCaig, MP for Aberdeen South, again, fantastically funny. But I'm not going to go too much into that just yet. I'll save that for a wee bit later. So stay tuned. In about another 6 hours I'll actually get into that. No, I'm kidding on. So, the last Fringe meeting that I went to was this afternoon, kind of lunchtime today, and it was all about mental health and working, and it was posted by the Scottish Association for Mental Health, or SAMH. Now, I've had dealings with SAMH before, and I'm actually quite sad to say they weren't the most pleasant. I actually had them for a work choice provider for, I think, one session, in which I was actually interviewed in a room that actually resembled a police interview room, even down to the dodgy lighting. And, you know, when I was telling the person about my difficulties, she said, "That's a lot of negatives about working, can you think of any positives?" And her parting was all squiggly. But that really doesn't matter. But still, I mean, that kind of seems to me like a pre-programmed response, based on the idea that any client through the door does not want to work. To be honest, that was really unhelpful. I'm glad I never went back. But I did tell my story about, you know, how I'd had my business and I had to, you know, give it up due to my depression. But the fact that I would like to go back into it. Ailey Whitford was there. She was in that session, and it was really good to be able to meet and speak with her. You know, so I really enjoyed that. Then it was on to the final list of resolutions. Now, that was the whole reason I came to Confidence. That and something I'll tell you about later. Final list of resolutions. I mean, we had one this morning on changing places accessible toilets. You know, trying to get more businesses to actually put them in. You know, all that good stuff. And that passed by acclaim because there was no against cards. I mean, why would there be? Now, changing place toilet. I wasn't entirely sure what they were, but what a changing place toilet is one that is kind of adapted. It's like a disabled toilet, if you will. You know, where there's extra bars and what have you for people to actually kind of maneuver themselves onto the actual toilet. But there's also a changing table. So, you know, if they need to get changed, that is a possibility. And, you know, it just kind of offers people with disabilities who do, you know, have issues around toileting, it offers them dignity while they are out. You know, and I'm really quite shocked to have to say this, but Aberdeen Airport does not have a changing places toilet. Now, who knows how long you're going to be in there waiting on your plane? I mean, there could be delays, it could be all sorts. You know, and this makes a difference from, you know, people wanting to go out, not just kind of for a holiday. I mean, this was kind of put to Confidence as a point. When you go out, you know, let's say you're either going out shopping or for a meal or for a day out or what have you, what's on your mind? Something like, can I afford it? How am I going to get there? How long am I going to stay out for? Am I going to enjoy myself? Questions like that. What isn't necessarily on your mind is, how am I going to handle when I need to go to the bathroom? But for people with various disabilities, that is a thing. And a changing places toilet can actually make the difference from people with certain disabilities. It can make the difference between being able to go out and not being able to go out. And the fact is, a lot of people end up staying in their homes and become isolated, socially isolated. And, my friends, we can do better than this. Sorry, I kind of feel like I've kind of stepped into conference mode myself. All I need to do now is kind of put a knows no bounds and a to the nth degree in it, and then I can even try and pull off a Kevin Stewart MSP impersonation, but I'm not going to. SNP members will know all about that. But Kevin Stewart MSP has actually helped me on a constituent level. There's a couple of things that he has helped me on, and if it wasn't for him, I would probably be up proverbial creek without a paddle right now. And so I'd like to kind of thank him for the ways that he has helped me as a constituent, and this is why SNP gets my constituency vote as well as my list vote. Anyway, so the motions this afternoon. Well, we had quite a few, as well as the intervention, as the note of military intervention motion. We also had one on Tata Steel, who seemed to be closing down a Scottish steel plant, and I just kind of wonder why it is. A lot of big businesses threaten to pull out of Scotland should we become independent. We stayed within the UK, and yet they're still pulling out. So we actually have the worst of both worlds. Anyway, we had a motion about, women, discrimination against women, what have you. Forget the actual title of it. But it was a motion there, to empower women and, try and curb things like sexual discrimination within the workplace, why women aren't getting paid the same as men and all that good stuff. Women getting jobs, and domestic abuse towards women as well. Trying to put kibosh on that finally. That motion passed, but Mark MacDonald MSP put forward a motion about autism and the justice system, and that we need to look at the way that autism, that people on the spectrum, the autistic spectrum, are dealt with if they come into contact with the justice system as a witness, a victim, a suspect, or an offender, or anything like that. I don't know how we're going to help them if they come into contact with the justice system through the fact that they actually became a barrister. Mark MacDonald MSP did not actually say. So I would actually call upon him to kind of clarify what would happen there. Mark, what would happen if a person on the spectrum actually came in to the justice system as a barrister? Could happen. And I'm pretty sure it has. Or a lawyer, or a judge, or any kind of thing like that. But that motion, again, passed unanimously. It just kind of shows that really we are a very progressive country here in Scotland. Anyway, one thing that really did make my day, I was there for Nicola Sturgeon's closing speech, and my goodness, what a pleasure that was. I got to, I've been in the audience for some pretty epic speeches over the past few days. Not least by the drag queen Nancy Clench, who came to perform for us as part of a comedy cabaret act at the Bridge Street Social Club. But I have been in the audience, for a few fantastic speeches. Tommy Shepherd, 10 most ridiculous things about Westminster. Dr. Philippa Whiteford on the NHS, why we should, why we should protect it, why we need to protect it, and Dr. We've had quite a few people actually. Hamza Yousaf, absolutely brilliant politician as well. Callum McCaig, Stuart Hosey, obviously, and of course Nicola Sturgeon herself. I know I've missed quite a lot out. Please forgive me. And apparently, while I was away, Mary Black came and wowed the conference. But then again, isn't that what Mary Black tends to do really well? I mean, her maiden speech in Westminster was just amazing. Now, after Nicola Sturgeon's speech in the close of the conference and what have you, Stuart Hosey, Kevin Stewart MSP, and Mark MacDonald MSP, they fixed it so that I could get a photograph with the First Minister herself. That was amazing. And if there's any Tories who are starting to realise that their party is a crock, I know what you're probably thinking. Oh man, that could have been us. I'm getting on. So that was amazing. I mean, I feel pretty confident sitting in front of this camera, blithering on. Even, and I know that a lot of people are not going to like this video. I know it. It's too long, I'm talking, and it's not about computer. But, I mean, I still have the confidence to kind of do this video and upload it and what have you. Graced by the presence of the First Minister, though, I suddenly became a bag of nerves. I did manage to stutter out about what I do, teaching IT, volunteering, managing IT, doing all that kind of stuff. Completely forgot about the stuff that I do for Free Cycle. But she's amazing. She's so friendly as well. Just fantastic. That is definitely a tick in my life box kind of things to do before I die. And and I did it. It's brilliant. And I hope it's not the last time I meet her, if I'm going to be completely honest. I didn't get to meet Alex Salmon this time, but after I met Nicola Sturgeon, on my way out, I actually was able to even meet Mary Black herself. She was there. I'm really glad that I managed to meet her as well, because I wanted to tell her what a brilliant speech she made in Westminster, and I told her my story as well. And in fact, I told quite a lot of people my story. A lot of people, a lot of people took a lot from it. And I know now that I definitely want to kind of get back into, looking at starting my business back up again. I really want to do that, because I feel it's going to be the best way for me to go. And I certainly think that our elected politicians here in Scotland, they're going to be able to help me and hopefully people like myself. We're going to be getting some disability benefit powers devolved to Holyrood. I think if not next year, then the year after. And I just know that we're going to be able to do incredible things, even with the limited powers that we've been given. Obviously, the great dream is to strive, the medium-term goal is to strive for more powers, to be devolved, and then, of course, independence, because a power devolved is a power retained, as we found out when the government actually took control, once again, of environment from us. Literally. So it was a fantastic conference. I was able to use some of my support hours to actually go, and I'm really glad I did. You know, I got to join. I've also became a member this morning of SNP CND. So yeah, I'm a member of CND, guys. So now I'm properly a liberal, properly against nukes. And I just know that Billy Core is going to be laughing at this. Either that, or he's going to be repeating everything back in a ridiculously contrived Scottish accent, and he's going to be kind of rolling the R's way too much. He's going to be ending up doing an impersonation of a Ned scooter. No, I'm kidding on. But I think I'm going to end the video there. We're past 41 minutes, and to be honest, I think it's too long. But I hope you did enjoy watching this video, and I will try my best to make the next video about computer. But before I go, I would like to thank everyone from the SNP who helped me at the conference. I'd like to thank Twitter user Bald Electrician for giving me a hand and giving me a lift home on Thursday. I'd like to thank Aberdeen Exhibition Conference Centre, AECC, for having us and making us welcome and what have you. I would also like to thank Aberdeen Central Coaches for the shuttle bus service that ran between town and the conference centre. And I would like to thank you, the Scottish electorate, for voting the SNP as your government for the past nearly 9 years. You know, they have done some amazing work since 2007 when they got into power, and we are looking for the third term. So please, we all need to work hard to convince people why they should vote for us. Yes, we had a good general election result, but don't think for 1 minute that the Tories, the Labour Party, the other unionist movements, organisations, political parties, and the mainstream media, which is by and large unionist, don't think for one moment that they aren't going to pull out all the stops to throw as much dirt at us as they possibly can, because, believe you me, they will. And the incident with Michelle Thompson highlights that perfectly. We need to try, and I know I need to do this, I know that I'm the world's worst. We need to try and come across very calm, very sensible, very measured. And I know our politicians can do so. You know, and I know a lot of the members can do so as well. We need to come over positive, calm, measured, and ready to win that election. You know, try and welcome people over to our side. I mean, this badge here that we all got at conference, everybody welcome. It's Dora, for everybody welcome. Kind of the principle of our party, but more so the principle of Scotland. And the SNP is stronger for Scotland. Stronger, better, faster, more efficient, more caring, more understanding, more accessible for Scotland. You know? So I really see no reason not to back the SNP. It'd be like trading in your i7 for a choice of an AMD Duron, a Cyrix M3, and an IDT WinChip. All the computer users out there. So let's keep this country going, because we are showing that we in Scotland can do really well by not just our people, but by everyone. Our government has stopped at nothing to try and do what they can to help the refugees from Syria to find a home. We actually thank them. You know, I actually heard a minister today thank all the refugees for choosing Scotland as their home. So, with that in mind, guys, the SNP conference has kind of, left me feeling confident about, left me feeling, quite positive that we can make positive change happen. But we must always remember that we're going to be up against Westminster. Westminster are going to try to do what they can to prove that we cannot be independent. They're going to do what they can to try and put kibosh on anything that we do that is progressive. And the mainstream media are going to be slinging mud while Westminster are doing that. So let's keep it focused. Anyway, this concludes this video. I hope you've enjoyed it. If you have, please feel free to subscribe to my channel. Also, feel free to like videos on Frontier on Facebook and to follow me on Twitter. The URLs will of course follow. But in the meantime, thank you for watching this video, and please join me